Hello, everybody. Welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around fantasy Premier League. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
How are we doing, James? The end of a long weekend in England. It was a bank holiday. I obviously took the day off myself as well. Thank God you have to go to court today, and we have to keep the podcast to a reasonable length. Thank the Lord, because I was thinking at some point at the weekend, James, with my team losing 5-1, your team winning at the Etihad, you being on free hit, how are we going to keep this show to 90 minutes? But thank the Lord that we have Tottenham tomorrow. So the best thing we can do is not talk about my team at all and, cover it all off on Tottenham. But yes, we have the 10 games to cover off. We'll keep it moving. And obviously your free hit as well. It has been a disaster for most people on Twitter this week, I would say. Scores varying from as low as 30 to 45 is the general range that I have seen.
I've seen some in the 20s, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to be nice here. But it has not been a great week for a lot of people. Followed up from an average game week one as well. Like a lot of the big hitters are not performing as yet as it stands at the moment. So it's been a pretty meh start to the FPL season for a lot of people. I've seen a lot of people wanting to delete their teams and that kind of thing. But, it's still early, right? Whatever happened in 2 weeks can easily be reversed in 2 weeks, is the way I see it.
Yeah. One of our patrons, Andrew Sands, likes to track points year on year, and a million rank last season in compared to a million rank this season. He's 27 points lower this season.
Wow.
Off the first 2 game weeks. And that's obviously adding in the fact that I think there probably was more chips played in these opening 2 game weeks.
Yeah, I mean, we both played
last season.
Bench boost, you played free hit. So that should account for at least another 10 or 15 points. You'd like to think, let's say, call it 10. So now you're talking 37 points.
That, I hope, gives some people some encouragement to know that I'm not doing as well as last year. Yeah, well, the points look a lot harder to find at the moment. I'm off to court in a bit, but the jury's out on plenty at the moment in terms of FPL assets. So it's been
not only that, obviously we had a
start.
weekend with a bunch of flags as well now being added in. A lot of people thinking about game week one moves and who to make, and we always know, right? This is the inevitability of the game. One of the most lucky parts of it is not having loads of players flagged out, and there's nothing you can do to kind of control that. So I'm sure we're going to cover off all of the talking points with all of the teams and all of the players. Let's cover off my team before we get into your free hit. We'll do it in reverse order. I got 41 points, which not great. Yes, they've also subbed in Keenan Dewsbury Hall now. Started well with Joao Pedro on Friday night with 15 points. And
So
then
you only got
after that,
26.6.
I only had Gabriel after that. And this is a team that includes Bowen, Watkins, Fernandes, Van Dijk, Aït-Nouri. It's not a bad team on paper, and it's not like streaky players as well, generally quite consistent players. So 41 points, not good. Obviously, Palmer ended up being auto-subbed for Dewsbury Hall. My bench did all right, James. Dubravka, Pedro Porro, and Magic Diouf with his assist, even though he lost a lot of points for the goal score. It was a great assist for Paqueta's goal. Assist of the
weekend.
The assist
brilliant.
made it. If he hadn't made that assist, I don't think Paqueta could have scored it. But that was
the assist of the
14
weekend
points.
wasn't awarded, and that was for Dominic Szoboszlai last night.
14 points on the bench. Really frustrating. It's interesting. Like Bruno Fernandes, 2 weeks in a row, 1 point off one DEFCON off points, let's say, and also missing his penalty. Like if he'd have
Did he not
flipped it
get a
around,
DEFCON despite that penalty miss? Because that should have helped, shouldn't it?
I did see a tweet saying that he should have. No, he didn't. He did get a DEFCON, actually. You're right. Sorry. He picked him up this week. He didn't the week before.
So the penalty did help. There's a consolation.
No, he got 13. So if the penalty doesn't count, but yeah, obviously he could be on plus like 9 or whatever had he not missed the penalty, and we'd be looking at slightly different score there. But ifs and buts might be maybes, James. I made a transfer though. For what it was worth, I sold Vert for Rangers last week. That was very much a play it your way move in that I didn't particularly think I saw what I wanted from Verts. Reinders was only going to go up in price. Would I see myself wanting to own Reinders long term in this game at that value? Like him and Anderson being two set and forgets at that price point? Yes, just get it done. Because the momentum felt like it was only going one way. I also expected 2 rises out of him and didn't get 2. It was only the 1 in the end. But I did make that move as well. So I'm currently sitting on 1 free transfer, injury to Palmer, injury to 8 Nori. Yeah.
Okay.
My intention, just so you know, is to roll through, like just play whoever 11 that I can get out this week and wildcard in the international break, assuming that I get a couple more injuries or the team doesn't kind of recover in any way, shape or form. My intention is to do that. And remind, obviously, we've got League Cup fixtures over the next couple of days as well.
There'll be heavy rotation for the
There
League
will
Cup
be.
games.
There will be. But you never know the odd knock that someone might pick up.
So have you got any flags at the moment?
Yeah, like I said, 8 Nori and Cole Palmer.
Right. Subs. I mean, if the 8 Nori, I presume, is going to be unavailable. We're expecting Simon Phillips, who's very close to Chelsea, seems to think Palmer will be out for about a month.
Right. I'm lined up with Sales in goal, Porro, Van Dijk, Diouf in defence, Anderson, Reinders, Dewsbury Hall, Bruno Fernandes across the middle, Joao Pedro, Ollie Watkins, Jared Bowen up top. And then my bench is Dubravka, Gabriel, Palmer and 8 Nori. Not a bad bench if they were all fit. But
you captain Fernandes from that?
Listen, James, do you know the difference between you and me for the first 2 game weeks?
It's Victor Gyökeres.
It's captains. No, not just Gyökeres. Over the 2 weeks, I've had a blank on Verts and I've had a blank on Ollie Watkins. And I think you've had Gakpo. And so the 30 points between us is Gakpo captain and Gyökeres captain, which goes to show again, if you're going against Haaland or Salah, the one thing you always want to get right is captaincy, because that can make such a big difference in this game. And I gambled on Ollie Watkins. Looking at my team, I didn't like it. I didn't want to captain Palmer against West Ham. It was going to conspire that one, either or both were going to mess up my weekend. So I thought, let me at least hedge my bets. And there's like a microscopic chance that West Ham might save it. So I didn't want to go with him. And then I really thought that Brentford's midfield would get overrun by Aston Villa. I thought, looking at Onana, Kamara, McGinn, Morgan Rogers, they should have too much for Brentford. In fact, they clearly didn't. And so I gambled on Ollie Watkins. I've had 2 blanks in a row, captaincy-wise. And it's pretty frustrating. But enough of my team. Let's talk about a successful team. Your free hit, you've got to be happy with how that's come out.
Yeah, if I was to be a bit greedy, there's things like obviously Palmer not playing at all. And
can't believe you didn't pick Timber.
Yeah, it's going down and I'm catching.
Would you call yourself an expert?
No,
what did he score? 24 by himself or something, did he?
Some haul, isn't it? So, the free hit went okay, I think. 70 points is a good return considering a lot of the other scores going around this week. So that's helped after I didn't have a great game week 1 either. Some nice differentials returned in there for me. Chalobah, Diakite to go with Gabriel, clean sheet. But ultimately, I mean, there's other bits I can feel unlucky about, right? Palmer not playing, Saka going off injured, like before 60. That would have been a few more points. And obviously, the 3 Manchester City players, much to my joy, did absolutely nothing. If City had done well, then I would have had an absolute stormer this week.
Yeah.
So, but essentially, Gyökeres has saved the game week. With the 24 points for me with captaincy, because the team that I would have had, Suj, would have scored 47 points. I would have captained Palmer and I would have had the vice on Watkins. So I would have ended up in the same place as you with what I had. Returnees I would have had was Joao Pedro 15, Gakpo 10, Porro 5. That's
Similar
all.
to
That's
me. But,
basically all I would have had.
yeah, the only thing I would say as a caveat to that is if you were not free hitting and you'd premeditated your free hit before the season has started, I don't know if your team would have been the same because you would have set up differently. You set up your team the way it
Maybe.
was to allow you to free hit in game week 2. So maybe you would have gone with a couple of slightly different
I,
players that
I,
might
I
or might
don't.
not have done well.
Yeah,
But yeah,
maybe.
ultimately you are, I would say, 25 points ahead of, well, you're what, 20 points ahead of average. Let's just call it that.
I
20
think
points ahead of average,
if I wasn't free
which is
hitting in
decent.
two, I don't think it would have been wildly different. No, like I think I might have carried like a Gabriel or
Yeah.
an Evan Ilson or a Semenyo, but I don't think I'd have scored wildly different. So it's interesting. We spoke about this last week, kind of the opposite of like you can free hit, and if you don't hit your captain, there's going to be a strong possibility that the team that you had outscores what you had. So I'm pleased to have a 23-point gain off that free hit. I'd have been well happy with sort of 15 or so. So
Yeah, exactly
that's all
that.
right.
Yeah, good, good, good.
In terms of
So
me moving forward, like I said, it's kind of
have you
dependent on
got back
Palmer
any
for me.
flags?
Palmer for me.
Okay, just that.
So if he's available, I'll be rolling this week. No intentions to do anything, despite the fact I know I've got a number of players who have underperformed so far. No, I'll be rolling, but I think Palmer's going to be out, and therefore I think he's going to go. And I did come to a conclusion of what I was going to do yesterday, actually, which was Anthony Gordon. So I'm back to the drawing board because the jury's out still on many, many others. So yeah, there's probably 10 or so players under consideration for me, which includes possibly coming all the way down to Josh King. Just going, right, I'll play Dewsbury Hall this week at Wolves. That'll put me circa 6 million in the bank, but it won't quite get me from Bowen to Haaland, but it does get me close towards potentially setting that up. But I'm not sure if I want to do it. I'm not sure. The thing is, if Palmer and Saka are going to be out for a while, you feel forced to get one of them in as it between Salah and Haaland. And I think for me, it would be
Um,
skip Salah for now and then get Haaland ready for 6. But I'm not even convinced I want to do it, Suj.
I can downgrade 8 Nori to any 4 million defender and upgrade Palmer to Saka. It'd be a -4.
Palmer to Saka, you mean Salah?
Salah, sorry,
Yeah.
Mo Salah. Yeah, I could do that. It's not the week to do it. I feel with Arsenal, but the fact that both of them have won their opening 2 games means they're both going to want to get a result, at least just an edge
Similar,
ahead a
kind
little
of
bit.
obvious one for me. I could go Palmer to Salah and Verts to Josh King. Same money that I can do now for a -4. But I'm going to want to switch that then to Haaland. It just bugs me for every other transfer along my path of what I want to do in terms of moving through 8, 9 and getting the right sort of Arsenal players,
How
Chelsea players.
how desperate are you to get Haaland after 6? You're not.
No, if I got Haaland, he'd be going in 6 to 8, and then I'd be downgrading that 9 to then put like Palmer and Saka back in probably.
Right. Yeah. Um, yeah. For me, I'm really just if I can just hold on because there's so much to learn again from a third weekend, plus transfer window closes next week Monday. So, for example, if I was wildcarding, I'd want to get Ekatike in maybe, but I really want to wait on the Isak news before I was to do something like that. Gokeres looks decent, but I'll probably do it after the Liverpool game.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing this week, and it kind of alludes back to a conversation we had with David Hunter on the weekend or on Friday. Most of the clubs are still going to be busy this week. Normally, you get to this stage and you're like, okay, there's 7 or 8 teams. I think their business is done. I think nearly every team in this league could be having significant incomings and outgoings over this next week. And that's why I think you're right to hold off till 4 once you've got all the information of this week. And obviously, transfer window shuts next Monday on September the 1st. There's too much stuff going to be going on. I think
Yep.
like a great example would be I'll answer some Tottenham questions now. Oh, Brennan Johnson. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Brennan Johnson scored opening 2 games. We know that he's one good trait. He's actually finishing, so that makes him a decent fantasy asset. If Tottenham buy any player this week, Johnson's not is a no go until you see any more. So, like, by all means, if you want to take a 1 week punt on Brennan Johnson, I'm sure he'll start again on Saturday against Bournemouth. Great, but moving forward? Richarlison, is Richarlison going to play every game now? So to answer that question.
Yes, because every player that your team try to buy, Arsenal are going to get ahead of you and get them because I feel like that's their
But
modus
but
operandi right
forget
now.
that. Right. Again, Richarlison is going to play against Bournemouth this weekend because he's playing really, really well. Right. After that, he's been named in the Brazil squad overnight. So he's
Yeah,
going to go and play for Brazil. And then we're back to weekend, Champions League, weekend. Yeah, right. At that point, it's rotation, isn't it?
yeah,
So there's so much to learn over this week. I know there's a number of people who felt they've had to wildcard now. It's fine. Particularly, I totally get it. If you're sitting there with like eight Norrie, Palmer, Saka, Rutter, it's like, oh my, and underperformers like Verts does look like a bin, particularly, I think. Then I totally get it. But I think in your case, Suj, yeah, you're right to wait another week, I think.
yeah. I've got. They're all fine. They're all okay players. It's all been kind of could have done, coulda, shoulda, wouldas. There's a lot of I won't call it bad luck, but it just hasn't played out as I would have liked. Would I rather be about 20, 30 points ahead of where I am? The only thing is I'd like to shore up my captaincy and have a reliable option. I'm actually at the moment the armband's on Bruno
Yeah,
Fernandes.
that's who I intend to captain this week. That was always the plan.
Yeah, if off the penalty miss, it does feel a little bit nervy, let's say, putting the armband on Bruno, but he is Mr. Reliable. Like I said, if he'd got his def cons in game week 1 and scored that penalty, he'd be on like 13, 14 points after 2 weeks. We'd be talking about Mr. Consistent all of a sudden. So
Yeah, captaincy's wide open this week, I think.
cool.
Wide open.
Should we talk about these games? Let's get through the 10 fixtures because they've all taken place and see where we are. Any takeaways from the games that we might carry through into game week 3? Starting with Friday night football, obviously a disappointing night for West Ham. 1, Chelsea 5. Oof. Quite the slapping.
I've written down a note here for you. It's the only thing I've written down. West Ham need 10 players and possibly a manager.
I don't think we need 10. I think we need.
You don't need 11.
We need 7. I think 7. I think there's 4 players in that team that could stay in that team, but only 4 as it stands right now. I think Wan-Bissaka, Diouf, Paqueta, and Bowen would stay. Like if
Paqueta
we were
would be
to
a Tottenham
overhaul,
player by the end of the week, mate.
no, it'd be an Arsenal player by the end of the week.
Yeah, if we change it, yeah.
Thank you very much. Easy on the old purchase jokes, mate. Just that was covered off last Friday, hence why we won't mention anything to do with Ebeze. But yes,
You're more than entitled to, Bus.
It was not a good. It was too easy for Chelsea. Firstly, I did think the first 15 or 20 minutes we pressed quite intensely. I thought, okay, Tosin and Chalobah at the back when we were pressuring them didn't look that comfortable on the ball. I thought, okay, if we can keep this intensity going, then maybe this is our opportunity to get something out of this game because they just didn't seem as comfortable on the ball in that opening 15, 20 minutes. The goal came from pressure, and we obviously took the lead. When the second goal was disallowed, after that it just became like an uphill battle. It was such a deflating moment when it shouldn't have been. I did think the first 20 minutes we did okay, but after that, defensively, we are a shambles. I think we need 3 centre backs. Aged and Kilman are so weak for big players. So weak for big players. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, I'm afraid to say, boss, it was as bad as it could have been, really. You know, we spoke beforehand in terms of the performance almost being more important than the result because you were probably likely to get beat. But if you come out afterwards and see some positive, that was fine. This was worse. This was like another step back from the previous weekend. One note I would say on you is I thought the halftime substitutions were interesting. So Potts and Wilson on for Talibo, Fulkrug. Now the headline from that will be right. Wilson on for Fulkrug, which I know.
So formation changes the headline.
Well, yeah, for me, yeah. And I wonder if this is it now that you might get a back four moving forward. Because actually, listen, you were 3-1 down. You were on a hide into nothing. The 2 goals you actually conceded after that were from shitty set plays.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you've suddenly become really weak at set pieces. You and I were speaking about this last week about when we play each other in game week 4. It was
From
like
crosses,
when we used to play,
not
you'd see
not
like
just set pieces, it's crosses. It's
you'd
because
see
Kilman and
Zuma.
Aguerd are too weak to attack the ball.
Yeah, but even the Wan-Bissaka on Neto's goal is so poor, man.
He switches off.
Used to see these big men like Dawson and Zuma come up and stuff, and you think, right, West Ham are so powerful on set pieces and stuff.
Not anymore.
Now, no, it's a real weakness. Yeah, goalkeeper's not covered himself in any glory yet. I think I said in pre-season that I thought Wilson was better suited to Potterball than Fulkrug, but Potter might not be in charge very soon. I do wonder if this is now going to be a back 4 at Nottingham Forest at the weekend. And I really think you should stick with a 5 for Forest, because I think that's the way to hurt them's not the right word, but they're obviously a good side now with some good
And
quality players.
The counter attack is where they're
so draw them.
rapid.
Draw them. But
They're
the problem
rapid.
is, you look at the way you defend crosses, like, I invite them on. It's like, Wood's going to kill you. So, yeah, it's not good, mate.
I do think we'll learn tonight, because West Ham playing Wolves tonight. If we play a back 4 tonight, then it does make me feel like he's going to experiment and try out a back 4. There are a number of questions that I've seen that, are we in target West Ham, target Wolves territory? Personal opinion is Potter should be given until the end of the Brentford game.
in 8.
In 8.
We spoke about this in pre-season. Like, if you lost the first 4, it's over.
He needs to get 6 points by game week 8, which is right now win at Everton and beat Brentford, because we're going to lose to Forest, we're going to lose to yourselves, we're going to lose to Palace, and we're going to lose to Arsenal. So there's no expectation to beat any of those teams. There's an expectation against Everton and Brentford to do something.
So if you lose your first 5 games, he's not going to make game 6, mate. That's what you've just said you think's going to happen. And listen, we know.
Yeah, I think we'll
Tottenham.
lose. No, it doesn't matter whether we think it's a big game for West Ham or not. If you don't have the ability, you don't have the ability.
I do feel sorry for him in the sense I know what he wants to play, and I think this week is bigger for West Ham than any other team, because I think if you get this week wrong, we are genuinely looking at a real relegation scrappy. If you get it right, I think you'll be fine. Get him a central midfielder, for God's sakes. But then I also get they're looking at it now and going, so we might get him the central midfielder we want, and we might have to bin him in a couple of weeks anyway. Like, it's a bad situation.
Who is our best defensive midfielder, James?
I don't think you've got one.
Well, because Edson Alvarez has been allowed to leave to go to Fenerbahce now, right? If nothing else, you chuck him in and you say, do nothing else except run around and tackle people and get in people's faces, because that's the one thing that he's good at. He's gone now. So, yeah, not great from a West Ham point of view. We'll cover more on Tottenham in terms of a little bit more detail on what's going on there. Are we in target territory? I think for the next few,
you are,
absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely target West Ham territory, and we'll see where we get to. If only we had 250 million to buy a Caicedo and a Enzo Fernandez, and maybe we could fix our midfield problems, James. But we don't. We barely have.
Yeah, they
25
they have
million.
some luxuries. Look, you have to give them some credit
Some
as well, right? Because
luxuries.
But you must have thought when Palmer obviously pulled out the game, you must have thought, oh, that's a touch for tonight. Like, that's going to be helpful. And they bring this young kid on who looks absolutely superb. If I knew Chelsea weren't going to do anything in the window this week, I'd go Esteval, I think. But he's another one I'm looking at. I'm going, I know they're going to buy Garnacho, and they're being heavily linked with Xavi Simons, we think, as well. So they're probably going to buy those two. So, like, if it was just what it is now, I'd love to take a punt on Esteval, but I need to know how that's going to work afterwards. It's actually the most likely Chelsea one for me, if I went there from Parma, stayed within it, is Enzo Fernandez. Because he'll have the license to go into the box, whatever they do. As you've kind of seen, obviously, on the third goal, more great defending from yourselves. Yeah, Esteval was really one to watch. Me and Clayton spoke about him on the Clayton James show the week before pre-season. I tipped him up maybe even as a young player of the year candidate. I think I'd said that I thought he'd be more involved than we think. But it does depend a lot on what they do in the transfer window this week, I think, as well. Joao Pedro is I don't know if I've ever seen a more Marmite asset within the FPL community. He's either brilliant or awful. There's no in between in terms of people's opinions of him. And because he's nicked off a couple of returns here, he's absolutely brilliant. Yet I'm sure when the team came out and it was like, oh, Joao Pedro's playing deeper, everyone would be thinking, oh, I need to bin that. And
No, I
yet here
thought
you
number
go. Here's
10.
the whole.
He's fine at number 10.
But I actually thought when I saw the team that I thought he might play off the right and they'd move Joao Pedro inside. I said this on the deadline stream, like they did a lot with Nkunku during the Club World Cup, because then Gusto could really push on. We'll never factually know the answer to that because Esteval was obviously the replacement. But I suspect in hindsight, it probably would have just been, yeah, Joao Pedro 10 and then Palmer off the right, where I know that's where a lot of people would have wanted him to play. The consequence of Gusto playing is bad for Cucurella. That is the connection for Cucurella that defines pretty much what you're going to get for him. If Gusto is playing, Cucurella is going to sit back deep. If Reece James is playing, you've got more chance. It's not a guarantee. You've got more chance of Cucurella moving forward. Now, Cucurella's obviously popped up with another assist here, but that's not what you'd have necessarily expected from him, near post header flick on for an assist. So who plays against Fulham between Gusto, Reece James and the impact of Cucurella? God knows. I think Cucurella's still a decent pickup, and I'd probably pay the extra over the others. Again, suspicion this week. Will they go and buy before you like slam into, Tosin Adarabioyo's back, I'll go there again. He's very much
Well,
on radar.
Fofana came off the bench, didn't he? So,
but I think with what he's got at the moment, Resk, I do think he wants Adarabioyo as the central centre back, ideally in their build-up possession. So, like, depending on who's playing between Gusto and James, Chalobah will switch to the other side of him. So, like against Palace, Chalobah played to the left of him. This one, Chalobah plays to the right of him because Cucurella stays deeper. And they kept that. Obviously, they did Achiampong against Palace, but Adarabioyo would have played that position against Palace as the central of the three if he'd have been available. So, I think Tosin is going to be really interesting if Chelsea don't buy this week. Guess what? I think they'll probably buy this week. Do you know what was really interesting in this game as well? Casado's DEFCONs.
Caicedo's DEFCONs,
Yeah.
7.
Yeah, I bet he doesn't have a lower one than that all season. Do you know why?
Why?
Didn't have to make a tackle or do anything in the game. Mate.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about that tomorrow. I think there was a yellow card that came out like in the 80th minute or something for Hato, but prior to that, there hadn't been you want to see one of your players at least just stick the boot in. Which you did. Let's transition into Manchester City 0, Spurs 2. When I say put the boot in, I don't mean dirty, but definitely you were winning the challenges across the park throughout that game. It really did. This was the first game, actually the West Ham game a little bit as well, of many over the weekend that I thought to myself, oh yeah, why did I put my faith in this lot? Because we saw how rubbish City could be last season, and this felt like a relapse back to it. Now I understand they didn't have Rodri and maybe Foden or whatever their best team is, but it did feel again like a weak City that weren't able to deal with any sort of level of physicality and pressure. It just was like, oh, okay, these guys actually, this is going to be a difficult season for them again, particularly against high intensity teams. So I'm thinking like the likes of a Bournemouth or someone like that is going to give them a difficult game.
Yeah, we're back to certain points of last season. Listen, Rodri will be available very soon, right? He obviously came on as a substitute in the game, and they will be miles better with him in the team. Trust me, no doubt about that. I think the most striking thing from the weekend, and I know because it was in the away end and I felt this, and the amount of times I've seen my team inexplicably and unbelievably produce positive results at Manchester City is remarkable. But I can tell you...
It's so weird.
I know, but I can tell you that through nearly all of them, I've shat myself pretty much. I spent the whole of the second half thinking we're winning this. No concern.
Yeah,
I've never been so calm now. There's two reasons for that. One is City, but the second, actually more important, is the way my team played, defended. And when we say defended, I think it would be easy to think, if you haven't seen the game, Tottenham went to Etihad, scored a goal on the counter-attack and went low block. Tottenham was so aggressive in the press. give Manchester City nightmares. And even in the second half, it didn't change. We had more shots in the second half than City.
Yeah.
You just that as it's a very basic statistic, but you can't believe that City 2-0 down at home to anybody would have less shots chasing the game
Well, everyone thought
than the
you'd
team
line
that's
up
winning.
with a back three or
Yeah,
back
so did
five,
Pep.
and you didn't, right? So credit to Thomas Frank there for second guessing. I mean, this for me, this victory was all on the manager. I mean, obviously the players got to go out and perform,
They have to put it in, but yeah, it's a big win
but
for
it was
Thomas
all
Frank,
on the manager. It was like, okay, this is what it's like to have a coach who can set a team up.
Oh, done. I'll be singing Champions of Europe for the next 8 months or so, I should imagine. Um, yeah, I said during last week many times that it was so obvious that Tottenham were going to play a back five that I was suspicious that we wouldn't. And one of the comments I also made on this podcast 8 days ago, last Monday, was about Cherky and Haaland playing together. And I now know that Pep listens to Planet FPL, took that personally, took the bait, and I'd like to thank him because that was a massive error in his selection. And I think that would have been an error anyway, whether it would have been a back five or a back four. I think they set up to play against the Tottenham back five. They would have known when they saw the team, admittedly, that it was a back four, but I think decided to proceed with how they wanted to play. They changed so many times in the first half who was going to go and press alongside Haaland. It's the same thing always. Haaland, if you have the ball, is near enough the easiest centre forward to play against in this league because he'll come across. I'm not saying he's not working or anything. He just can't press well, right? So if Romero's got the ball, you're going down the right-hand touchline, you think, okay, Haaland's coming across. Romero just take a step inside, back to Van der Ven, right, and we build attacks on the left, and vice versa. So easy. Also, as a consequence, if people don't follow in the midfield, it's easy to bypass Haaland and get into Bentancur and Paulinho. There's times in the game I was watching Bentancur carry the ball, and it's like, I'm just not used to seeing one of our players have that much time in a Premier League match. So as good as we were, so many faults at City's press, and that's alarming because I think that's actually been a problem, not just from last season, that dates back longer. Manchester City can be really easy to play through and play against, despite the incredible quality that they obviously have. And if they don't fix that, they won't be near winning the league. Aït-Nouri obviously went off injured early in the first half. Nathan Ake replaced him. I would guess as he tried to carry on and obviously couldn't, you would assume Aït-Nouri is probably going to be out for a little while. Ake will probably be the cover at the moment. Obviously, Vardiol, don't know where we're at.
Nowhere to be seen, not even in the squad.
Even if Vardiol was available, I don't suppose he'd probably just get thrown into that position against a player like Minter this coming Sunday. So I imagine Ake probably will play left back. That's okay for them defensively. What it might also mean, obviously, they wanted to push Rico Lewis inside, might mean that Nunes might come back into the team for the Brighton game. And I actually think that would be a better duel for City rather than having Lewis having to deal with Mitoma on that side as well. City are in danger again this weekend. I know Brighton weren't particularly great on Sunday either, but they're in danger again this weekend if he gets the selection and the tactics wrong. For my team, third different system in the three competitive games. So it was 5-3-2 against PSG, or to be more effective, 5-2-1-2. It was a flat 4-3-3 against Burnley. This was more of a 4-2-3-1 with Sarr more as a 10. He's another one. It's like, is Sarr going to play every game as the 10? Ask me in 7 days and I can give you the answer. But he was absolutely phenomenal, Suj. Perhaps
I watched it.
It's hard to pick out individual players, but he
didn't play like a 10, not a flair 10, like a number 10.
No, he would drop in.
He's like a creative player. No, but he just played in that position really well with intensity.
He would drop in off the ball to the side of Paulinho, but on it, he'd almost go and join Richarlison. So he was kind of in between the two. So the physical demand on him was huge in the game. His work rate was brilliant. Paulinho and Bentancur really good.
Put a massive shift in.
Great. Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to kick you while he was down, mate, but
he's
brilliant.
Is what it
it's
is.
The
facts
same
is facts,
thing, though.
Right?
It's the same thing with Kudus. Did it look like scoring to you at any point in the game?
No.
No.
So
brilliant player doesn't look like scoring at the moment. So if we're sitting here in 7 days' time and Tottenham haven't bought an attacking player, The one to go and get is Johnson because he adds the one thing that you know that Kudus isn't offering at the moment. And I think Johnson played really well actually on Saturday on off the left, and he looks a little bit more physically stronger. Is good to see. I think they're working on that as a club behind the scenes. Obviously, gets into positions and scores goals. So we've now seen him play 2 goals off the left, score 2 very different goals on that side, but you can see you have to credit it on his goal, the drive to get into position once Sars won the header, he is off like lightning. It's a full 100% sprint that even kind of nearly ends up in front of the ball. So him off the left, we now know can continue to score goals. But if Tottenham take Savinho from City as an example, like where does that leave him? So I just don't think you can invest. Johnson and Richarlison are great assets if you want them for this week and ain't bothered about Whams afterwards. But at the moment, and Sar, I can't give you any clarity on any of these players because every Tottenham fan will tell you right now we need to buy at least 2 attacking players before this window shuts. Performances like Saturday won't help because Daniel might go, oh, this is all right.
Yeah.
But the depth isn't good enough. I'm gutted that Jamie Carragher highlighted on Monday Night Football last night something that I'd spotted. It shows you the intent of aggression in Tottenham's press. Is the second goal obviously comes from a big cock up from Trafford. It was bad. I don't think he'll play at Brighton. It'll be Edison or Donnarumma if they sign. I don't think he'll play, but I think Pep probably felt he had to because of the clean sheet at Wolves. So we obviously pinched the ball high again. It's Sar's really good work. As Paulinho scores, Van der Ven is in the penalty area. That's from a Manchester City goal kick that never left the penalty area. So the bravery in our performance was so impressive. And despite that bravery, we were largely pretty untroubled. It was quite straightforward and a thoroughly deserved win. I'm well pleased.
Good. Your opponents on the weekend, I don't know, are you playing Saturday or Sunday? I didn't check.
Bournemouth Saturday. It'd be more of a challenge.
Beat Wolves 1-0. I mean, you obviously tripled up on Bournemouth for your free hit, and Diakite obviously returned well. You must have thought with the early goal and then the Gomez red card that it's fill your boots time somewhere along the line, but they didn't ever quite manage to get anything else, and it only ended up with the 1-0 in the end.
Not really. I just sat down on a train, opened
my
neck back. Oil, and thought I'm going to enjoy these. But no, you're quite right. Yeah, the early goal, Semenyo obviously getting the assist for that. It's true that I feel a little bit unlucky, but I suppose getting the 10
should
pointer
be
Diakite
is huge. It's kind of counteracts it.
It was a decent call for the 1 week. I think, by the way, Trafford is probably the right one longer term because I don't think they'll hit too many DEFCONs actually. But yeah, Semenyo should have got more. He's ended up snatching at one in the second half that went over. It would have been an Evan Nilsson assist. He's hit the bar from about 2 yards. Semenyo should have massively hauled. And Evan Nilsson obviously was fouled for the Toti Gomez red card as he's going through 1-on-1, although he took a very heavy touch and wouldn't have scored. So, yeah, I could even look at the free Bournemouth and go, yeah, 18 almost felt a little bit unlucky out of that, actually.
It is what it is. This Semenyo, when I've toyed around with what would a potential game week 4 wildcard look like, he made it in, and I got hurt by him so badly last season. But by the time I sold him, his end of season running was particularly good and he started the season well. Is it just the case that he's finally added that end product? He's finally matured in a way that he's added end product to his game, because it was blank after blank so much last season.
But it
until
wasn't
the end
because
where he did deliver.
It wasn't because there was a reason we went and bought him in the first place, right? So it wasn't. He was showing good because remember he was in kind of like the 5.5 bracket, but
end product though.
He has end products as long as the power in his shooting goes in. I think he's beginning to add a little bit of finesse. Look, he can go either side. He's powerful in his shooting going either way. I wouldn't be surprised if he actually outscored Evan Nilsson in terms of goals this season. That might sound like a wild call. But yeah, I think he'll be in double figures for goals. I think he's the sort of player, put him in, and a little bit like the Liverpool game, don't stress about the fixture because his consistency will be pretty good, I think. So if you want it, fine. I've still got them over the next 5, 4th on my ticker, despite the fact the Wolves game's obviously out of the way. So Tottenham, Brighton, Newcastle, Leeds, Fulham, I think is decent as a 5 for him. Then it looks a bit rougher, even like Palace, Forest, in terms of attacking prospects, and then there's trips to City and Villa. But if you want him, yeah, he'll be consistent at that value. He's very much under consideration for me, Suj. Because of
Yeah,
that, right, if he goes in, yeah, we'll forget about this, I think, for the next 10 weeks, as long as he's fit. And I go, yeah, he's a consistent
just
animal.
keep
There'll be
playing.
others I'll look at and go, like if I went Rodgers at a similar price, and I still might, I know others I think they're selling him, I might be buying him. I'm looking at that going, yep, next 5, and then I want to move that on to something else. Semenya, I'd probably look at more as a longer term, yeah, he'll go in, he'll be consistent. I'll probably hold him till I hopefully wild card in game week 13. Although if I suffer injuries like everybody else, I suppose I'll be doing it quite early soon as well. Just note, obviously, Christie and Cliver appeared as substitutes as well. It does look like that they stayed with this more 4-3-3 with Adams deeper as almost like a single pivot with Tavernier and Alex Scott ahead of that. So 4-3-3, 4-1-4-1, however you want to describe it. Not sure Christian Cliver in that system will get thrown straight back in against Tottenham at the weekend. But the fact that they've started, they were obviously unlucky at Liverpool. They've started all right in that system. They'll probably continue with it for the Tottenham game. Then might have a look at shifting that again, maybe afterwards, I think. For Wolves, John Arias started, but was quiet. I cannot explain to you why Andre didn't start. That's weird. He came on at half time. Chachua came on for Kai Hover after about half hour. Presumably, he will now be the first choice right wing back. Big week, for Wolves. Lots of Strand Larsen to Newcastle links. Over the
50 million rejected, but they'll go
so.
Back with more, right? If they've decided that he's the guy that they want and they've given up on Visser, then I think they'll keep knocking on the door till they get him.
You worry for Wolves if they sell him now, don't you? I mean, I think at that
no,
sort of price.
To be honest with you, I'm grateful to Wolves for keeping us company. I'm like, well, what a game tonight! What a game tonight to get to watch. West Ham versus Wolves in the League Cup. I already said to the Wolves fans in our Patreon, in our Slack community, they can have the win. So I'm happy to lose. And whilst we're up there at Molineux, we'll be dropping off Max Kilman as well. No refund required. You can just have him back. Thank you very much.
Yeah, they're not signing
free gift with victory.
They did warn you about him, to be fair. They did a lot of them.
Yeah. There'll be more talk on that in Tottenham tomorrow. The lack of leadership within the West Ham team as well. But yeah, he won't be with us at the weekend. Like I said, we're dropping him off later. Wolves keeping us company at the bottom. No Strand Larsen is a problem. And one of the midfielders, Gomez or Angels out, and then you'd think...
I have seen... I know Strand Larsen showed up quite well on many of the models going into pre-season. And I've seen a few people wanting to sell him. Like, obviously, wait on the information. Surely you've not gone through Man City and Bournemouth away to... You knew that was a tough 2 games, surely. And now their next 2 home games, by the way, sandwiched by a trip to Newcastle, he's Everton at home and Leeds at home. Surely if you went with him, you stick with it. If he stays with the club.
Yeah.
Surely. You pick that for consistency, not for, I think he's going to go mental in the first 2 games, surely. Yep. So I'd be sticking with him. If he moves, I suppose that depends on his sack, doesn't it? That's for later in the pod.
Brentford 1, Aston Villa 0. James, 76% possession for Aston Villa. They managed to barely just rack up a 1.1 XG, 1.19, so let's call it 1.2 XG off 17 shots, which means that, and they had one big chance in there as well, the quality of the shots and the quality of the chances that they had were rubbish. I'm not going to get you to say Dango Utara was worth the transfer fee yet because he's only scored the 1 goal. But if he scores a couple more, maybe I will.
I've got nothing against Dango Utara or Brentford, and I'm more than happy to be proved wrong on that. I just think that is a jaw-dropping transfer fee, and I still feel exactly the same about it. But it took the goal well. It did need 2 stabs at it. But
I was going to say, he needed 2 stabs at it. So did he really take it well? But
with his pace...
Of course, problems.
The capability is there, but We also saw very similar scenario last week with Anthony Elanga going through for a one-on-one, and Anthony Gordon's obviously red card as well. So yeah, the Villa high line is not working at the moment, and it's cost them here. I have some sympathy in the sense, obviously, Consul would have played, so they've had to play the two left-sided centre backs. I saw a few Villa people thought they probably should have gone back three under the circumstance. Maybe so, but I don't think Emery was likely to do that. Boubacar Kamara went off injured early in the game. I think that's hamstring. That's a blow. It means Tielemans will go deeper. It means something else will come into the team further up. That might be dependent on what they do on the window this week. Lots of talk. Maybe they might go for Marco Asensio again, for example. Rodgers and Watkins very quiet. I wouldn't be selling either of them. I own Watkins, and I've been here before with Ollie Watkins. He's not there. Bang. I've been here before. And then fixtures, I don't think this week, but I think Palace at home is the toughest game that Villa have across the next five. So I'm more than happy to keep that. And as said, Rodgers is very much on the short list for me as possible Palmer replacements if he's injured. But yeah, they didn't play well. We have to give credit to Brentford.
Yeah, I think that's the other side of it as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is as much as we want to criticise Villa, because when I look at the lineups, like that midfield, I get it, Kamara went off, but Onana, McGinn, Rodgers, Tielemans, they got pace and power in there. It's a physically strong, good midfield. It's way better than Brentford's.
But when you have 76% possession, the opposition is going deep. That pace and power ain't doing shit for you, is it?
Nothing.
Really?
No, they haven't got that tricky player that can maybe unlock the defence.
Yeah, I think Villa are a great team, like on transition and stuff, and particularly at Villa Park when they can be quite dominant. But yeah, Brentford essentially, look, let's give Keith Andrews credit. He's got the tactics right here. And I think we should probably bin the Nottingham Forest game from our minds, actually, because we should acknowledge that not just Atara, but Kevin Sade and Mikel Damsgaard all back in that team, along with Jordan Henderson. That's like four of your mid five, if you will, changed. With the only one we'd said, Yarmouk, the only one who kind of impressed against Forest, being the only one that stayed in the team. This is a whole different midfield composition, basically, if you will, and they would have looked like 4-5-1 a lot out of possession in that game at the weekend. So probably should bin the Forest game from our minds. I would say you're not going to win many games in this league with 24% possession, but it's obviously worked for them at the weekend. 6 Brentford players hit DEFCON. Clearances and tackles was by far the most of the teams in the league in game week 2. I think Vandenberg, I'm going to say this every single week, I think Vandenberg is going to be one really to keep an eye on for DEFCONs for the long, long term. I would not be buying that at this moment, because after they go to Sunderland, then fixtures get pretty rough. So very important that they got these points on the board. We highlighted in pre-season their first 6 home games are dog. So to get a win there, I think is particularly important. Really good for the manager. Fair game to him. But I won't be looking at any Brentford this week.
No, me neither. Burnley 2, Sunderland 0. The answer was yes. Double up on the Burnley defence of Dubravka and Steve in the end. I think people got high on Sunderland's, obviously, victory against West Ham. We now realise that that's more West Ham than it is Sunderland. And Burnley pull out a clean
That's so depressing for Sunderland fans.
I say it tongue in cheek. They did deserve to beat us, and they did all right in that second half, to be fair, especially with the intensity of it all. But once that kind of home advantage of the first game back in the Premier League's gone. Interestingly, obviously, Burnley, Leeds, and Sunderland all won their first home games back in the Premier League, where you've got the advantage of the crowd and the atmosphere and so on. They also all lost their first away games, but it's 2 weeks, so let's not look for any trends in that. But it is good for all of them to get off.
The most interesting trend in that, I think, to note is that not only did all 3 of them obviously lose their away games, none of them scored.
10-0, I think the aggregate score across their away games.
You spoke about targeting West Ham Wolves at the moment. Yeah, sure, but don't think that these 3 promoted teams shouldn't be targeted from a fixture perspective at the moment. I think they should. I'm delighted for Burnley that they won, because when I look at United away, Liverpool at home, Forest at home, City away, Villa away across the next 5, there was a horrible scenario there of potentially looking at sort of 0 points from 7. So I'm glad that they're on the board. Jadon Anthony was kind of the standout one at Tottenham in game week 1 in terms of interest. Not that he was going to pay 5.5 for him, but I'm not surprised that they've done well and he's returned well. Lovely little flick for Cullen's goal, and then a beautiful pass for Cullen's goal. Cullen's assist for Anthony, and he finishes it really well. I think there will be 3 hits further down the line where he'll be a fine pick. Now that we know that, you're not going to go and invest in that, I don't think. But good result for them. They changed to similar system at Tottenham once they got ahead. Went a bit deep. Oliver Son back on, Kyle Walker tucking inside. So you might get more of that if they go 1-0 up in the game, and then second half, then it becomes more like a back 5 off the ball. Sounds like they deserved it. Although Sunderland had some chances in the first half. I watched quite a bit of this on Saturday night. Sunderland weren't helped by losing Clayton's mate, Dan Ballard, who nearly assisted, but got injured in the process of nearly assisting. And there was no one near him, and he went off. I would suggest that's either thigh or groin injury to be confirmed. Alderete started anyway. He's safe as houses going forward. But it was interesting that Reynaldo picked up a DEFCON in this one. And obviously Ekdal picked it up rather than Estev as well. So maybe a little bit of a strange one from that perspective. Yeah, Sunderland's fixtures turn after the Brentford game as well. So really big one for them coming up this weekend. I won't be looking at either of these two sides for anything offensively in the near future. If you've got anything enabling on the bench, leave it. Play it this week, maybe if it's Sunderland, that's it. Burnley, you obviously won't. But they'll win at Old Trafford, won't they?
No, they will not. Yes, we're both captaining.
Sunderland are going to be doing more
Fernandez.
business this week in the window. Axel Disasai, by the way, has been heavily linked with Bournemouth and Sunderland, with a potential loan move. If Ballard's out for a while, they'll need a new right-sided centre-back.
Arsenal 5, Leeds 0. Comfy win for Arsenal. They do have these games a few times a year at home where they just dominate, don't they? So Max Dowman has been added to the game now at 4.5 million. All right, there was a moment where he wasn't even in the game, even though he had returned. We spoke after the United game about Victor Gyökeres. You were saying that he maybe physically he won't be able to dominate some of the centre backs or defenders in this league. His first goal was just what he did at Sporting, to be honest with you. Pick the ball up, just run at everyone, run past everyone, shoot and score. Now, I don't know if Leeds is the best example of the biggest, strongest defensive unit, but that was what we could expect from him. He's definitely, obviously, got the attention of a few now. Obviously, taking the penalty as well, even though that was after Saka had gone off, but still, he scored the penalty. He's got the attention of a few at 9 million. His ownership is what, 25%? That's pretty high considering a new player in the league.
As the game updated from the teams that free hitted him in, and they're clearly not going to be buying him. I don't know. That's probably factual anyway. I thought that goal was really awkward. Penalty is taken well, no problem. I thought that, and I met up with Clayton on Sunday, Suj. We watched the Sunday games together. We spoke about Gyökeres quite a bit, and I raised concerns to Clayton, similar concerns that I have about City with Haaland, about Gyökeres if Arsenal want to be intense in the press. And therefore, I think if Havertz had been available, and we're assuming he's not, I don't think Gyökeres would have played at Anfield this coming weekend. And I think there's possibly even a scenario where he still doesn't. I think he probably has to now because of injuries to other players, possibly. But yeah, I thought the goal looked... I think someone steps out and intercepts that, get a better opposition. I think there's an element, an unknown, and now if that's all he's going to be, most teams are going to cotton onto that. It looked awkward. The touches were quite heavy.
Yeah, the reason I'm maybe, but then some players just have that style. I feel like Kudus, for example. I always said it when he was at West Ham. He never feels like when he dribbles. He never always feels like he's fully in control of the ball, but he also never loses the ball. It's just his way he is, and he just kind of in and out trickery or whatever. It might just be his style, James, that he's not like a Messi with the ball at his feet. It's not got that elegance. But that's what he did at Sporting, was pick the ball up, run, shoot, score. No, there's not finesse in it. It's just pure...
Look. What I'm kind of getting at here is I captained him this week and I'm not convinced. I take the
I
points.
think
Thank you. I'm not. I certainly wouldn't be chasing it. I
no,
wouldn't
but if I was
understand anyone,
wildcarding after
despite
this week
Liverpool's
in game week
issues
four, I
defensively. I
think
wouldn't.
it's if I'm
No,
wildcarding game week four, I think I
I
would.
I wouldn't
Yeah,
look at Gyökeres till 7.
nah, I think he'll do all
I'm
right
not. I'm
between
not
them.
digging you. That's the swing of fixtures. I wouldn't be looking at him till game week 7 personally.
But obviously not
Um,
helped by the fact that if Saka's out, and Odegaard picked up a knock as well, did he?
so reports on Saka would suggest that he's probably going to miss around about 4 weeks. So it's not impossible that he might even be back for game week 4, but I don't think you can rely on that. I guess there is a scenario where some people might have been thinking, I'll bench him at Liverpool. I wouldn't advise that. Um, if he'd been fit, sorry. So you might be thinking, oh, I'll hold it. It's going to hemorrhage value for you while you're waiting. And then with Madueke now, they don't need to rush it in the same way. So Arsenal's situation is better than it would have been, right? You've got Madueke can now play for Saka, put Martinelli back on the left. And technically, Eze could go straight in the team to replace Odegaard, right?
Hmm.
So the problem's not as big. Odegaard, we haven't got the prognosis yet, but it's not as bad as feared, seems to be the word. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's still involved at the weekend. Big game. They're going to cover with injuries better than they did, but I don't look at anything else in that team at the moment and think, oh, I'm going to go to Madueke to replace Saka or Palmer if need be or anything. Ultimately, these next 4 fixtures will define Arsenal's season, I think. Liverpool away, Forest at home, City at home, Newcastle away. I said to Clates on Sunday, I said, take 7 points from that's fine. So I think they can even afford a loss in now. As long as they get close to 2 points a game from those 4 points, 4 games, I think they'll probably go on and win the league.
Well,
You've
we'll
got
talk about
way more
Liverpool in a
trust in
little
them
bit.
defensively than what I'm looking at from Liverpool at the moment.
Well, it's true. Liverpool have needed to come back in like the 80th or 90th minutes in both their games so far this
What I'd
season.
say, if someone's looking for an 8 Nori replacement and you're thinking, oh, I would like Gabriel, but those, or a different Arsenal player, but those fixtures are too shit, I don't mind. If you think, right, well, that's going to save me a transfer further down the line, so just get it in. For those
Yep.
who are looking at later wildcarders, or even maybe those that are on wildcard, I don't mind. They're capable of keeping a clean sheet in any game at any time. Gabriel scored at Anfield last year. He scored at the Etihad. He scored at White Hart Lane. So at any point, for example, and I would still be going there despite the Timber and Calafiori hauls. So another player Arsenal have been heavily linked with over the weekends, Piero Hincapi, who of course is a player that I really like. I actually think if Tottenham went and got him, which Tottenham are saying they're not interested, which is probably a wise thing to do after last week's fiasco, that Hincapi would probably go in as first choice left back with the ability to go and cover at left sided centre back in the inevitable circumstance where Van der Ven can't play twice a week regularly enough. That's not going to happen. But I think you could be looking at something similar with Arsenal. So I'd certainly put the brakes on Calafiori at the moment if they're going to go and follow through with that transfer. Timber's more interesting. It's not as exciting, but from a minutes perspective, I think there's more trust in Timber. I was really surprised that Ben White started game week 1. So, no, I don't suppose anybody had Timber or Calafiori on their free hits. I'm sure there's a few people that did. I would have had no reliability on Calafiori making it past an hour. Um, Timber, I was not expecting to score twice, right? He scored twice and assist, didn't he? Assisted Saka's goal, didn't
Yeah.
he? What a haul.
And max bonus 24 points. Yeah, he's beaten some entire teams this week. Should we talk about the Sunday
I
games?
think
Go on.
if the transfer window closes and they haven't bought Hincapi or an alternative, because let's say Kivior stays, for example, then Calafiori becomes more interesting. I wouldn't go chasing it yet. The Timber one's a bit of a freak, but I do think ultimately he'll be first choice over Ben White. So at the moment, I'd prefer Timber of the two if you had to. It feels like the wrong week to invest in them generally, though, unless it's for the longer term security, in which case for me, still Gabriel.
Cool, cool. Right. Crystal Palace won, Nottingham Forest on Sunday.
Just
Leeds.
one note on Leeds, yeah, shite. System didn't work. Ampadu was obviously a big miss. Tanaka might be injured now as well. So don't think it's just Newcastle with problems going into that Saturday evening fixture. Leeds have got issues there now as well.
Righty ho. Crystal Palace won, Nottingham Forest won. It came up pretty even on the XG as well in terms of 1.1, 0.9. Both had two big chances, 8 shots for one, 9 shots on the for the other. It comes across as pretty even. I didn't see any highlights on this one, James, so it's on you. But we all had defensive assets more than anything else, and everybody got wiped out.
Well, I was down the pub watching Everton Brighton, wasn't I? So fortunately for you, I watched all this game back yesterday morning. And there's nothing overly taught that you wouldn't already know about these two teams in terms of system, etc. The most intriguing thing was that Nuno swapped over Hudson-Odoi and Ndoye in the second half,
Left
and that
and right,
obviously they had the combination, obviously, that led to the goal.
equaliser.
Palace with a better side in the first half. Forest with a more likely winner by the end. Probably overall a draw about right. Both these teams, I think, can still be relied upon defensively. I think I'm going to have a closer look at Ndoye again this week as a possible option for me, considering who Forest are playing this week. And I can probably rotate him for 4, and then his good fixtures 5 and 6. With them buying McAtee, Hutchinson, Calamuendo in as well. Who knows? It might even be more. There's big competition for places there now, and I would have a little bit of concern about their fixtures around 5 and 6, particularly the Sunderland game in 6. If they've got a really big important Europa League game before that, say they get a giant and it's their first Europa game, I could see a bit of rotation for that Sunderland game. So I'm a bit wary of that. But I'm going to have a look at Ndoye because when they joined, I said to you, I think he'll go in at 6'5", and I think he could be really interesting. He came in at 6, and then I looked more at his data, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's probably not as good as I thought it would be from what I'd seen on the eye previously. But he's obviously scored in the 2 games. I would punt him over Hudson-Odoi or Gibbs-White, I think, if I was going to invest in Forest. But I think probably an attacker on the opposition is probably more likely for me. So timing away to Villa probably doesn't feel right, but Ismaila Sarr is really under consideration for me. Kind of haunting me, well, my words that I thought in pre-season he would probably be the best of the 6.5s. One thing in terms of Villa, tough fixture, but Ilanga, Gordon, Atara seen at the weekend, right? Sarr's the one that can break the lines if the pass is right. Have Palace got a player that can play that pass now? Well, yes, in Adam Wharton they still do. And then Sunderland at home the week after. And actually look at him similar to kind of Semenyo and go, if he goes in, he's going in longer term.
Yeah.
And he might even be, as it stands, he might even be the most likely one for me in terms of if I need to invest this week. Just like him as a long-term hold. Again, they're another one. Compare it to, say, Johnson's, etc. You could look at him now and know, yeah, Palace will probably get a replacement for Eze. It's not going to impact Sarr. Semenyo's not going to be impacted at Bournemouth, right? Sarr's not going to be impacted at Palace. Johnson at Tottenham might well be impacted by transfer moves this week.
Yeah.
So if I need to invest this week, I think Ismaila Sarr's quite an interesting one, actually. Mateta owners, therefore, should not be losing faith either, I don't think.
Yeah, keep the faith. I was more interested in this game for the managers than anything else, if I'm honest with you, James. I thought, look, Nuno's clearly unhappy. Some shit's going to kick off there and he might be out looking for a job. And I know Glasner's only got 1 year left on his contract and is arguing with Gay and whatever else. There's something funny with Glasner and the ownership there at Palace as well. I was hoping both of them would kick off next week because they don't get what they want in the transfer window, be available in the managerial market because if Potter goes, I would take either happily because they can both defend.
Having watched the last 2 Liverpool games, and I know, so I didn't watch the Community Shield, but I know some people watched that as well. If Liverpool need to put all their eggs into Isak, then fine. If they don't, then I think Gay goes to Liverpool this week because we know they've got the money spare, right? So they probably get Gay in and probably get one more different attacker, I think. So I wouldn't be surprised if he moved on. Ultimately, for Palace, you've got to look at it and think, are they going to be in danger this year?
Oh, no way.
No, not with that manager. He's too good. There's no chance under Glasner they'd be in trouble, right? We've still got, even despite losing Eze and maybe Gay, no danger of getting sucked into trouble or anything like that. They might find winning games a little bit more difficult, but they'll be fine. Ultimately, you're in no danger this year. You got someone probably offering you 35, 40 million. He's going to leave you for free next year. It's not, Gay's not one we think, oh, the contract run out, will sign a new one at the end of the thing. He'd have his pick of whoever he wants, right?
It's signed now, otherwise.
They should take the money, really. In this age of PSR, etc., as good as he is, you should take the money, reinvest it, and churn it a bit. And I'm sure Palace probably would spend that money. Bear in mind, they've not really done a lot this window anyway. So they're another one could end up being really busy this week. Nuno could be gone by the time Forest play usage. They're going to have a meeting this week, aren't they? And if they butt heads, they're going to call it a day, I think.
Yeah, yeah. We'll talk about it more on Tottenham, or let's see what happens later in the week. Let's talk about the.
Did you say you want to talk about Tottenham on Patreon because you think Nuno might be your next manager? Yeah, me too.
No. I
prefer you to get Ange though. We all want to see.
But I thought Marinakis wants Ange.
Yeah, but we all want to see Ange at West Ham.
No, thank you. Let's talk about the big kickoff at the Hilly Dick, James. And it went off with a bang.
Yes. Boom. Yeah, very good win for Everton. Deserved. I don't think Brighton were great. Everton played the occasion well, despite did some shaky moments as well. I mean, Welbeck should have put Brighton in front, but pass from Minter was slightly behind him. Although I think Welbeck arrived too early, went in too fast. Welbeck's obviously late and missed the penalty. Mitoma had this brilliant effort where he hit the bar on the volley.
I mean, including the penalty, the XG for Brighton was 2.4. Take the penalty out, it's still
they had
not
moments,
bad.
but I don't think they played particularly well. Rutter was a miss. We think he picked up a minor issue in training, which obviously none of us know. So he's one you need more information on. He may well be back, and judging by how they played, I wouldn't be surprised to just come straight back in the team, actually. Some interesting selections for Everton as well. Grealish in, played well, obviously assisted both goals, which meant Ndiaye to the right. Really impressed with Ndiaye on the goal because it's not the sort of goal you associate with him, like being that player that will arrive in the box. If you're going to have a player like Grealish, you know what it does? It's probably not the normal thing for Ndiaye to do, but he'll trust Grealish's ability that will make him confident to make those runs. A lot of those times, those runs are for nothing, right? He doesn't come to you. But if someone like Grealish, you'll think, I know it can come now. So you might get a little bit more of that from Ndiaye. But they've obviously confirmed the signing of Tyler Dibbling as well. And that would probably be his best position. So a little bit of competition for places there in those attacking mid positions. I don't think, and Ndiaye owners shouldn't shit themselves. I'm sure he plays again at Wolves and Dibbling can be eased in. Could even be Dibbling in a central role, Dewsbury Hall a little bit deeper. We could end up with something where Everton as a football team look very different, where in the longer run you might get like James Garner and Dewsbury Hall as the two, and then think of like Dibbling and Ndiaye Grealish ahead of that. It's like, team for footballers now. Like, yeah, it could be something quite nice in the future. And I think David Moyes likes to play good football, and often that doesn't go recognised. Barry came into the team. Doesn't look like someone who's going to get big attacking returns so far, but did a lot of unselfish work, I would say, during the game. Beto looked a bit livelier when he came on. Probably this might be the kick up the arse he needed. So I wouldn't be surprised if that maybe changed again for the Wolves game. Wouldn't go racing to Barry. If you're a Beto owner, you're probably hoping that Fulham don't sell Rodrigo Muniz, I'm going to guess at this moment. Yeah, good win for Everton. Stadium looks amazing. Looks absolutely great. Really looking forward to going now.
Good. Fulham won, Manchester United won. We thought, look, Fulham's always a difficult game because of how organised they are. They ended up with more big chances than United. The XG was particularly even. Obviously, that Manchester United XG is heavily influenced by the fact that they had a penalty as well. So on the balance of it, you could say that Fulham would be disappointed only to get a draw out of it, though if they scored the penalty, United will feel like they could have got 3 points as well.
So Clayton sent this tweet out at the weekend. He said, I'm in the pub and this Tactico is really annoying me. And let me tell you that he sent that tweet out before Fulham started really pissing me off in this game. United were there for the taking, as they normally are. I don't understand Marco Silva's setup. I do understand it because he explained it. So they played a back three, and he was worried about getting overrun in midfield with United's 2 10s coming in narrow, and they kind of formed their own box. And if Fulham just went with a 4-2-3-1, he was concerned they were going to get too outnumbered. But what they essentially did was match up to United and they matched up to United with inferior players. So now you've got individual battles going on all over the pitch, and whatever you think of United, those individuals, nearly all of them, were better than the Fulham individuals. And I felt they really struggled off it. You've also got one player in there, and he looked fine, Josh King. Really like him. Like as I said, I might even invest in him for FPL this week as an eighth attacker for clarity. But you've got him playing in there and asking him to pick up link work with Iwobi. You're putting so much pressure on that kid to be creative. And I thought their setup was wrong. And I think they got away with it. And I think they got away with it with the Bruno Fernandes penalty miss primarily. But United should have been like a couple up in the first half. Cunha, in the first 10 minutes, would have made everybody watch that game and go, right, stop talking about these other players, James, in terms of Palmer Saka replacements. We're all buying Cunha, aren't we? The problem with that is he's basically played as the 9. His press was better, by the way. I think the way Fulham, again, set up, I said this to Clayton during the game, I've been keeping an eye for Cunha's press. He's not been a problem, and I think it's because of Fulham's structure. It's not been right in this game. You'd watch that game and see where Cunha played, and you go, yeah, he's the one. He's the one. And he would be. But Sesko will play against Burnley, and I don't know what that means.
Yeah, he's just getting eased in, isn't he?
Yeah, he'll start against Burnley.
Yeah, I would agree. And my assumption, and yours probably similar, is that Cunha will then play where Mount played.
Most likely, which is obviously where he played for Wolves primarily and did very, very well. So I'm just saying we don't quite know what that looks like. And then when it's Man City in game week 4, then what does it look like? Because we know that in these games, if Mason Mount is fit, Amorim wants to play him in these toughest ones, I think.
Yep.
So, and that again, that might come down to a pressing issue. So is there a danger at that point that Cunha doesn't play? Or does he dip Sesko in and then put Cunha back as the 9 at City? I think there's a lot of question marks there at the moment. Cunha could be a great punt. Because what I'd also say is, as much as you got Burnley, and then the fixtures are afterwards, you have all the United players, I would fancy Cunha most of those to return at the Etihad, and I wouldn't be that bothered about it. I suppose for me, because I've already got Fernandes, I'm like, I don't know if I want to sit there with both of them for City, and then it's Chelsea afterwards. So I think Cunha will really appeal this week, and I totally get it. I think if I was buying Fernandes or Cunha at this minute and I didn't have any, I probably would chance it on Cunha if I could afford the chance. With Bruno, you know exactly what you've got. Good clearances.
Look, he rarely. You don't suspect that he would lose penalties because of that.
No,
he's been so consistent
no.
prior to it before. As much as you're ribbing him, it happens, right? Everybody misses.
I'm only ribbing him because I took him out on a free hit, so it was a great result for me.
Yeah, it did work out. It would have been maybe a little bit different had it not.
So when Fulham changed system in the last 20 minutes or so after United scored, as soon as Harry Wilson got on the pitch, it was like the whole team came alive, by the way. And it just looked so much better. Smith Rowe scored with like his first touch. That was my Josh King goal being nicked, but actually it's a sort of maybe King doesn't make yet. So fair play to Smith Rowe getting on the end of that Iwobi cross. As soon as it went to a back 4, it was so much better. And I know there was an element of game state and United were winning, but then after that, everything about Fulham was so much better in the back 4. So I'm really surprised that they went with that system personally. I know Silva spoke highly of it afterwards. I didn't agree. I didn't think it worked. Do you want a Lenny Euro stat?
Sure.
Because obviously it's technically his kind of goal, wasn't it? Although it's a Muniz.
It's an own goal.
Muniz, by the way, is so interesting if he stays. That's such a big one this week. If he stays after the Chelsea game and then the window, he's walking into Leeds at home and Brentford at home afterwards.
Yeah.
Very interested at that. And so will others to find money potentially. Lenny Euro is yet to start for a Manchester United win against a current Premier League club.
How many games he played?
It's enough.
All right.
He's only wins when he started for Manchester United against Premier League teams who've been relegated, i.e. Leicester, Southampton and Ipswich.
Yeah.
For Ruben Amorim, how many games has he started? Well, for Ruben Amorim, that number rises to 4, Suj.
Okay.
He is running like a point per game, basically, isn't he? This is the problem. We said this. If they start badly, imagine they lose home to Burnley Saturday. I don't think they will. I think they'll win
They
quite
they
comfortably. But
they need to win that game.
Imagine they lose with City and Chelsea afterwards. That's knives out on it.
They need to win that game.
Yeah, it's a pressure game.
If Liverpool go on to win the league, are we going to remember the first two games of the season with the Chiesa goal in the 88th minute and this Rio?
And Gamua.
Um, um, you say it.
I've said it. Rio.
Rio,
Rio and
late winner.
What a finish.
90 plus 10. He scored a screamer in pre-season as well, if you remember, from outside the box, whacked it top. I thought, like, yeah, pretty good.
I think
late.
nearly every kid takes the first touchdown. I mean, it's a brilliant goal. It was so out of context with how Liverpool played. It's an absolutely stunning goal where they kind of finally beat off Newcastle's press in the midfield. And it is a beautiful goal. The over from Szoboszlai is one of them. We can all see it on the TV. You think, step over. Yeah, to have the awareness in the stadium to know there's not another Newcastle player behind you and stuff. Brilliant from Szoboszlai. And the finish, when it landed, the way he's just wrapped it. And yeah, it's brilliant goal. Brilliant goal. Liverpool did not deserve it, man. No. Firstly, the red card. It's a red card.
Yep.
It's one of them, when you're watching it live first time, he's always in danger because he's gone for this mad sprint. He's gone for Alisson first. Then he's carried on the sprint with Van Dijk. Like, it's phenomenal pressing, but then he's coming in too fast. So if he doesn't get near the ball, like, he's automatic yellow card no matter where he catches Van Dijk at the minimum. Like, he's got to play the ball, or he's getting booked because he's coming in too fast. So we're now endangering an opponent because you're coming in too fast. And when I first saw it, I thought it's that. But then when you saw it back, and he probably took a couple of angles, and you saw where he'd caught him on the back, yeah, he could have done Van Dijk some serious damage there. And therefore, he's really endangering an opponent, and it's the right decision. I thought they made the decision really quick, which was surprising as well. But I think ultimately they came to the right one. And it's shame, by the way, because as I said to you, I'd kind of decided yesterday I'll go Gordon. I said this in pre-season. Newcastle assets, no interest. We could get the game week 3 and this quickly changes. Because with Gordon, despite not knowing what Newcastle were doing this week, my conclusion was, well, the worst case scenario is Isak plays, which is probably unlikely for this weekend because we don't know how he's trained, or they buy a Larson and he goes straight in the team and Gordon goes to the left. That's my worst case scenario. I know Anthony Gordon is part of Newcastle's best 11. So he got sent off. He was the best player on the pitch till the red card. He was absolutely brilliant, Suj. He looked like as well on the eye, even though he was playing as a 9, you're like, yeah, I'll have a bit of that. Is that how you felt?
No, to be honest with you, because
that's good, isn't it?
No, but the thing is, in my mind, I didn't have a hat on that was I want to get a Newcastle asset because of the uncertainty. So for me, it was not even a question. To be honest with you, it wasn't even a question. I was looking more at Liverpool and Ekitike. Like, I want to get Ekitike more than I was thinking about any Newcastle asset at the moment.
But deadline Saturday and a transfer window closes Monday.
Yeah, I'm just waiting and holding my horses at the moment. This guy, this kid Rio, 16. You got Max Dowman coming on at 15 and picking up the assist. I was thinking, like, how many seasons is it going to take before we get an all teenage Premier League 11? It's never going to happen.
It never happened unless there was like a big illness in the squad.
I completely get that, right? You don't see many teenage goalkeepers and things like that, but you could easily get to what, 5, 6 teenagers in a Premier League team.
Yeah, and I think we've seen that sort of thing before.
Game's getting younger.
You're going to have some experienced heads in there, right? You look at Chelsea. Chelsea are regularly trotting out teams at like 22, 23, but you've still got normally someone like a Reece James in there or something, right?
Yeah, but it's incredible how young...
Enzo Fernandez is young, but he's very experienced. Right? You're not going to get a team full of teenagers, mate.
No, but it's just amazing how much younger it seems to be that players are getting and teams are getting. It's like, you're not going to watch the kids play, are you?
Well, I think now is more... If people were of this extreme talent, like Rio or Max Doman, they're going to get thrown in. Even though, and in a weird way, if you're at an elite club like those two, it is a little bit easier. What I mean is, let's take who was your boy at Leicester? Jeremy Monga, was it? Who come on towards the end of last season? He's coming into a situation where they're fucking awful, right?
Mm.
It's hard. These boys are coming into a situation with playing around top players. Now, admittedly, the Liverpool scenario at the moment, and particularly last night, not so great, but also was against 10 men. You're still coming into a team where ultimately Salah's assisted you via Szoboszlai's brilliant step over, right? You're around other brilliance, right? Which makes your life a bit easier. You're going to spend a lot of time on the ball, most
Yep.
commonly. Not that Liverpool spent anywhere near as much as they should have last night. Um, Something's got to change here. So I actually thought that in the first half they didn't do too badly. I think Newcastle were the better side, but in the sense that I felt they'd taken away the vulnerabilities they showed in the first game against Bournemouth. Like Gravenberch being in there, they were deeper than what you'd like, but I think there was a consciousness of right, well, we can't have Newcastle killing us here in transition. Newcastle were playing really well, but it weren't truly hurting Liverpool, I don't think, in the first half. Newcastle played really well. If the score had gone, yeah, cool, probably deserve it. But Liverpool were kind of not under huge duress, I think.
Yep.
From 2-0, I lost interest for 10 minutes in the game because when Ekateke scored, I thought, well, that's finished. It's game over. And I don't know if that's just what happened to Liverpool, but from 2-1, how they allowed Newcastle to have as much of that game as they did is really, really concerning. At the start of last season, Manchester City were having some great results. If you go back and look, City won the first 5 or 6 last season, and we was knocking on the door going, this isn't right. Liverpool got to fix this. They cannot win this league if they concede some of the shit goals that they've been conceding. It cannot continue. You cannot be winning 4-2, 3-2 every week and praying these guys get you out of it because there'll be days where it doesn't happen. So it's not that it's not unfixable, but it's not right at the moment.
Well, the
Not
big
at all.
big test this weekend. We'll see how they get on in a completely different style of game against Arsenal. Though it
And
is at
they
Anfield.
should, if you judge the way, say, Arsenal played at Old Trafford, I would expect Arsenal to play, they'll have to play better, by the way, but play similar stylistically to that at Anfield. But Arsenal on transition could hurt. The one thing about the way United and the set up of the three centre backs, it's quite difficult to hurt in the same way on transition. Liverpool wide open when they lose the ball at the moment. Gravenberch being back in certainly helps. I certainly acknowledge as well, obviously, McAllister was a big miss last night as well. I think his other half went into Labour. Good luck to the McAllisters. So he'll probably be back in the team at the weekend. I think Dominic Szoboszlai, by the way, did absolutely brilliant at right back. I thought he was Liverpool's best player by a distance, and then had the key moment at the end. But yeah, it's not right.
Good, good, good. Okay, cool. James, we're going to cover off some of the questions. We'll do
While
a
you look
few
for
that
questions,
we've
can I
had.
just
I've
have
got them ready in front of me. Do you want to let us know what's the schedule for the week,
I
roughly?
can. Just a couple of quick lines on Newcastle. Obviously, Tonali and Joel Linton both went off injured. That's a big blow. Fabian Schär was a concussion substitute. So Malik Shaw, who looked good when he came on, by the way, will probably start at Leeds. You probably got Ramsey and Miley probably coming into the team for Tonali and Joel Linton at the weekend as well. I think we can expect some Misak information this week. Actually, I don't think it will probably go till Monday. I think we'll know by the end of this week what it's looking like is going to happen. Isak could well be on the bench at the weekend, maybe if they've sorted it out. I don't think he would start. Eddie Howe did a great thing tactically around the 55-minute mark where he switched to a 4-3-2 and completely narrowed the game. And that played a big role in terms of Newcastle's turnaround. The consequence of the Gordon injury in your mind is to think about Barnes and
Suspension.
Elanga. What did I say? Sorry. Did I say injury? Suspension,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. Yeah.
Because Gordon's going to miss 3 games now. Leeds away, Wolves at home, Bournemouth away. And that's not bad as a set
Yeah.
of 3 fixtures. So I think you're drawn to look at Elanga or Barnes. I think if you want to, absolutely fine. But you have to know that there is a risk element afterwards on the other side of 6. Because if Isak stays or if they buy another forward, what's the consequence? One of them's probably coming out the team
Yeah.
afterwards. So you want to punt it for 3 weeks? And you're thinking, yeah, I'm going to sell that in 6, fine. I don't mind that. But I think it probably is that it's 3 games and sell. If you want to do that, fine. Slight preference actually on what I've watched so far would arguably be Elanga.
Okay.
But either fine. If someone preferred Barnes, I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Cool. What's the
Can't say.
schedule for the rest of the week, James?
So ask James tomorrow. I don't know what time yet. I will confirm. I've got to go to court shortly for jury service. I will confirm. It's probably tomorrow. It'll probably be like it's in an hour. Thursday clash of correspondence: Liverpool versus Arsenal. That will be available for all patrons on Wednesday. Friday, David Hunter's back with me for the weekend. I'll be wrapping up all the key information from Carabao Cup midweek. Looking at replacements potentially for Saka, maybe, and Palmer, and looking ahead to the weekend. On Patreon, we've got a Q&A today. Tottenham tomorrow. Differing weeks again for us, Suj, I think it's fair to say. Money in Football on Thursday. I've got some good topics for us for that, Suj. I'll send that to you shortly. And Differential Show Game Week 3 preview on Friday. If you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/Planet FPL.
Cool. Yeah, Patreon's the best place to help keep the lights on. You get access to our Slack community. You get access to some prize leagues. You get the additional content that James mentioned, a whole bunch of other benefits of being part of the community there as well. Why not come and try it out? Just a few questions we'll cover off, James, because a lot of them we have talked about in terms of players and for anybody that's kind of asked the question on, is this player locked or should I buy this player? Well, we've got a week of transfer window. So, those are very, very difficult to answer.
Is there any players we haven't spoken about from those questions?
I'll have another scan through in a second while I ask you this question. Mr. Gatsby, are defensive contributions overrated, underrated, or properly rated? There are a couple other questions around DEFCONs and what our thoughts are after 2 weeks on DEFCONs.
Depends. I think it depends who you're assessing and why you're assessing them. So let's give an example. You and I, probably most of us have watched both Liverpool games. Every time Liverpool play a team want to put balls in the box, Van Dijk's going to hit DEFCON. Mm-hmm. And he's probably the only 6 million that will. Now, that said, he's got me 6 points. Or he would have if I didn't free hit this week. He would have got 6 points from the 2 games. So that's shite. But if Liverpool do sort their act out defensively, that could obviously be great. So great. Van Dijk's hit DEFCONs twice. Yeah, but Cucurella's got 14 points across the same 2 weeks. So how do you want to equate Van Dijk's good for DEFCONs? Yeah, he does look like he'd probably be the best of the premium defenders for DEFCONs, but they also need some clean sheets to go with it. I think note on things like Forest might be changing, evolving style a little bit. So their boys didn't hit it in that fixture at the weekend. Lacroix was the only person to hit DEFCON in that fixture. If you're looking at, say, Tarkowski and Keane, as it stands, they're going to hit it most weeks. You would have any game Everton are under any duress. They just clear the lines, right? So they don't piss about with it. It depends who you're assessing and why. So if you're just looking at the DEFCONs, he ain't going to do that much shit for you. Ultimately, you still need someone to either contribute offensively, or you need the team to keep clean sheets as well. It's like Steve. Steve didn't hit DEFCONs at the win, but Akdal did. Okay, let's say Steve did. All right, great. Well, we're going to start playing him every week because he's hitting DEFCONs every week. You're not starting Steve in them next 5 or 6 fixtures. You're not. It's a waste of time. So you can say, oh yeah, he'd probably hit DEFCONs in all of them. Yeah, great. He's probably not eating 10 points across the 5 games. So what's the point?
Yep. Yeah, I'm with you. I feel like DEFCONs is a little bit of bonus added in, but not something that I'm making core decisions around in terms of who I'm playing at the moment.
Someone like Tarkowski obviously could be great, right? We know historically Everton can keep clean sheets. If they're keeping clean sheets regularly, he's going to
play a low block sometimes.
Exactly.
But maybe that will change if the whole team suddenly, like you mentioned earlier, a team of footballers, they might keep the ball a bit better and suddenly that dries up. Obviously opposition dependent as well. I think
what we have to think about here, and I've not looked at the data yet, but I imagine there's got to be some form of correlation here between crosses and DEFCONs. So there was a lot of talk in pre-season about, are you more likely to hit DEFCONs against the top sides? Yeah, but Man City don't cross the ball. So you're not necessarily hitting DEFCONs. Whereas a side like Liverpool or maybe even Arsenal are more likely to cross the ball into the box because they've got better targets, etc. That's weird when City have Haaland. It's their style. So I think there's probably a correlation to look at in a few weeks and see if there's people are hitting defcons more against teams that are having high volumes of crosses and stuff. Be interesting to see how many. I don't know the number of Villa's crosses, for example, against Brentford, but over half of Brentford's team hit defcon, mate.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess style of football does play into it quite a bit. Two questions, James, on two players that have hardly been mentioned, and you wanted to talk about some that haven't. Tim, let's go to Tim's question first. De Kuiper, is he a definite sell? He's not on pens, not very good at defending, no clean sheets, fixtures are bad. He got subbed in game week 2. Don't even know why I started with him. My last little live a little pick, he called him.
The crapper, yeah. Try not to piss about with your 4.5 defenders. Like, if that's your biggest problem at the moment, well done. I just wouldn't bother.
Just leave it be. Hide it on the bench.
You got a 4.5 defender at the moment who's doing a bit shit. Right, you're better off just rolling your transfer.
Yeah,
way more power in that sort of thing. I think moving forward, I think most people at the moment will be suffering with patience, right? So I give you this one from FPL Crusader on Blue Sky. Everyone on my timeline is panicking about Wirtz, Palmer, and Watkins. I have all three, and I'm holding. What would you do if you have Wirtz, Palmer, and Watkins, stick or shift? So I got Wirtz, right? I'm looking at it across these first 2 games, thinking, good player. Not sure this is going to be fantasy. He's beginning to feel a bit kind of Odegaard-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Like, good player. Not sure if it's like every now and again he'll get like a haul, but then he'll be nothing for 2 months. It's feeling like it could be a bit like that. And except that Liverpool played 2 good teams in their first 2 games, that's worth acknowledging. So my view on Wirtz at the moment is, right, okay, where am I going? So I'm maybe looking for Palmer replacements, and I'm not sure where I'm going. So I'm going to piss about with Wirtz as well, because ultimately Liverpool got 2 of their next 3 at home. The other game's Burnley away. Right, okay. I'm not bothered about the fact that he might go down in price. I'm bothered about those next 3 fixtures still okay, because any fixture at Anfield is fine for a Liverpool player, even though it's against the best defensive side in the league, in my opinion. So he's staying. Game week 6 to go to Palace. Right, we'll have a look then. And there's swing of fixtures where maybe it can move on. Maybe then I'm going to a City player. Maybe at that point, Marmoush is suddenly in the City team. And I'm like, this is great. Watkins, I spoke about earlier, it's not really looked like doing anything the first day. I'm not selling Ollie Watkins with these fixtures. I don't care. I don't care how much value he could or might lose. You know what a good bit of advice would be to people? Don't look at it. If you need to be aware of something like, right, I've got an injured player. Say you've got Saka. Right. You want to be aware of those price sites because you don't want to lose the value on him, right?
Yeah.
You want to sell when he's still 10 rather than he hits 9.9. He might have already gone. I don't even know. If he hasn't, you want to be looking at it because you want to sell at the right time with the most information you've got and not lose that 0.1, right? But if it's like Watkins, I'm not even looking. I don't care. He's staying. So those players mentioned, I've got them all. If Palmer's fit, which I don't think he is going to be, but if he is, I'm probably rolling. The one thing I definitely won't be doing is captaining him.
Yep.
Because there is a problem. And I think one key note on Palmer as well is Maresca said that he had the problem going into the Crystal Palace game. So it's obviously something that was there bothering him anyway. Yeah, it probably needs fixing. So I think that's where my transfer is going to be focused this week. The other players that I've got are underperforming. We'll see how we get on.
Yeah, sample size
very
is
much
too small
still
in
fixture
2
head.
weeks to
Don't
worry
look
about.
at the pricing sites. If you've got a player that you still want to get, like with Watkins, the fixture is still good. Don't look at the pricing sites. Don't even look at it.
Good.
I recommend live FPL for those who do.
Yeah. .net. Last question, James. Another player that we mentioned but didn't mention, and there's no answer to this, but I have an answer to this. He says, Damien wants to know who is the best Fulkrug replacement with 0.5 in the bank. And my answer is hide it for a week if you can, because the answer might be different on Monday/Tuesday.
Because
if it's next Tuesday,
where people
it's like Muniz, right? Yeah, or Richarlison is, I think he's too much.
He's gone up,
now,
is he?
James.
I think
he's
6'7".
6'7". So, but Muniz
he's gone up 0.2.
I think so.
What is wrong with people?
Yeah. Whereas right now you get one answer, and in a week, if the transfer window closes and Fulham haven't signed a striker, then and Muniz is still there, then you'd say actually go down to Muniz, save the money, and use it somewhere else potentially because that million could do you something.
That's what you got.
So for me,
6.5.
yeah, you ain't
I,
buying
I would just leave
Welbeck.
Fulcook there this week
Exactly
because I
that.
think the information would be more important to you.
Yeah, wait a week and pick up Muniz if he stays would be my suggestion, but wait and see.
Everything that would be available has got a downside to it at the moment without more information. So you might, again, the power of rolling, right? You might then be in a position where you go, let's say Strand Larsen's gone to Newcastle and it looks like he's going to play. You go, and by the way, his debut could be against Wolves. Sorry, Wolves fans, in game week 4. You might go, right, this is the one for me now. Or even you go, actually, yeah, shit, Muniz is now available at Fulham. They've got a couple of really good fixtures. Oh, and now I can spend that million somewhere else. Like, if you're not sure where to go at the moment, the best advice is to do nothing. If you've got injured players, move them on. But if you've got someone that's underperforming, it's 2 games. Two
Wait and see.
games. Wait. If you're not sure where you're going, wait. Reinders. We not spoke about Reinders on this podcast. We spoke about him every bloody 2 minutes last week. Right? And what I saw at the weekend, all right, not bothered now. Now I think consequence Tottenham going to be much better defensively and set up very well. And also I think Cherky had a negative impact on him in the game. He played fine, by the way. He was one of City's better players. Maybe he'll be free again at the weekend and look free again, right? And that's not to say anyone who's bought him has made a mistake, not at all, because I probably would have bought him last week. And he's still under consideration for me this week. But I don't feel the need to run to him
Yep.
at all, right? So that's a great example. This time last week, oh my God, we got to get this Man City player. We've just spoke for an hour and a half and we ain't mentioned him. Wait,
Flavor
is
of the
the
month
right
changes
answer for
quite
most people.
quickly. Yeah. Good,
Wait.
good. Cool.
The
Thank you,
jury's
listeners.
out on so many players, and this is a massive week in terms of transfer window.
Yeah. Cool. James, we'll wrap this episode there. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. James got to go to court and find everybody guilty. So enjoy doing that. Keep your eyes on Twitter at Planet FPL Pod because James will be tweeting with the live streams and stuff when they go out, as well as all of the content. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you're listening to the show. You'll get notified as well with every episode that goes out. Hit the notification bell, thumbs up, all of that kind of stuff, whether you're on YouTube or anywhere else. Other than that, though, as James said, don't panic. There's some League Cup games to, inverted commas, enjoy. And we'll be back at you throughout the course of the week. Stay safe. Look after yourselves. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Please be nice to each other. Play it your way. Cue music, please, man child.